Let's talk about it.
Hey,
How are
how
you,
you
Richard?
doing? I am exhausted. How are you?
I am about the same. Life has made a little bit of a change. And as for you, you moved and you've been going through all this stuff. Or kind of my world's kind of been shifting on its axis too.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things. I'm liable not to be my chipper self. I don't want to act for anybody, but I'm liable not to be my chipper self. I'm pretty exhausted and pretty tired after the investigation last night. By the time we got from the hotel back here again today, I'm wiped.
Tell us about the investigation. Tell us about it. Where did you go? I want to hear it, man. It's been a while.
Yeah, hey, we went to Octagon Hall. We were there, met up with Bear. Bear Gaunt. He is the kind of like the docent of the property.
Yeah.
We've been on his show a couple of times with Billy and Tanya, and we booked a place to go investigate it, and we did put up a live early in the day
Mhm.
yesterday, and it just the activity was just absolutely insane. In the beginning of the night, it was just crazy. They wouldn't leave the REM pods alone. They wouldn't leave the EMF meters alone. I mean, we were hitting 39 milligals and an EMF meter sitting on a dining room table. It was pretty crazy.
What? That's
Disembodied
amazing.
voices, tons of pictures. It was good. It was real
That's
good.
amazing. That's amazing. So, as you can tell, ladies and gentlemen, I am not in my normal studio. I have actually spent the last little while assisting my parents on their farm. My father had a bit of an accident, and so he's okay. He's healing. But, what does family do? Family steps in. And so I have come and I'm running the farm, helping them run the farm as we speak. So please excuse the background. It's not my normal spot. But like Richard, I am exhausted. We've been doing it. So thank you so much, everybody. The last couple of weeks, it's been kind of a trial and error for Richard and I. We both were going through some stuff and changes, and I had to come here and you had to move. And so we really appreciate your patience because we weren't able to do the shows, but we welcome you back. Thank you for having us. Right, Richard?
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. We got a lot of people to say hello to in here.
Yes.
Jen, Brandy, Chris, how's it going, guys? Melvin. Yep, sorry we missed you last night. Melvin, Meg, Tara, Valerie, Brenda, and Nadine, Judy. Guys, we thank you all for coming out. We appreciate it. I know it's been a couple of weeks and a hot minute since we've been on. Life interrupts. Let's just put it that way. Life interrupts.
Yes. It does. If you see me looking down, I'm able to get one screen up for comments, so please bear with me. I'm not ignoring you. I'm trying to keep up with the comments too. So
Yeah. So we do have
them.
typically what Katie tells you, and I'm going to go ahead this time and do is so we are simulcast to two different networks. So there are comments that I get to see on all of the. Thank you, Tammy. Appreciate it. We missed you too, and I get to see the comments for all the networks. She gets to see the comments for a couple of places, but she's got to use separate phones for each and every comment. So she's trying to help keep up. We do get. Do we use Ghost Tube, and what are your thoughts? No, I don't even know what Ghost Tube is, to be honest with you. I don't. But love to hear about it at some point. But yeah, it's just one of those things where life interrupts, and we just we've had to handle some things. But we appreciate the opportunity to come back and talk with you guys. We're thankful for that. But yesterday was yesterday, especially in the beginning of the night, it was really, really crazy, and it was really enjoyable. And had a lot of personal experiences, doors opening and closing right in front of our face.
What?
Yeah, we walking through. If those of you who've ever been to Octagon Hall, there is a second floor. And when you come in through the surgery room, which is what that room is a surgery room where it used to be a Civil War hospital. And they did the surgeries, amputations, whatnot in this room. And there is a closet door. And I walked past it, and it was closed. And as I walked past it and enter into an entry hallway into the master bedroom, Lori and Lori and holy mackerel, Devin, our other investigators there last
A
night,
little bit of a
and
paranormal hangover, eh?
I'm tired, I'm telling you. And they were walking by the door, and I actually heard the door turn the handle, unlatch, and then the door opened up wide.
What?
And I just heard my name being spoken, and I turned around, and I'm like, I heard that doorknob. And they're like, yeah, it just opened up on its own, fully wide, not a slow creak like if it was on an uneven plane. It just whoop, went right
Cool.
open. So, yeah, that was the start of the evening. We were just doing a walkthrough at the time, so that told us that we were going to have a busy night, and we did. We had a really busy night. If anybody watched the live from last night, that we were able to get out one live, you could tell it was really busy, but we really enjoyed ourselves, so that's a plus.
I unfortunately was not. I was in the barn. Let's put it that
We
way.
were in the barn. We were in a barn last night, but it wasn't, for the same reason.
Wow.
Wasn't for the same
Well,
reason.
I'll tell you something. My parents' barn is haunted too, but they don't open doors. So I would have been liked to have been with your place for sure. That's
Oh
right.
Lord, yeah. But it's a nice place. So, yeah, the Octagon Hall is a really great place, and
Definitely on my bucket list.
it's it'll be someplace to go to again at some point. And this is my second time there. The rest of my team's first time there, and they really didn't disappoint.
Good.
I hold EVPs to a certain level of excitement for myself. And last night I had asked the question, who was the president when you were alive, and I get Abraham. I love that. That kind of so excites me. Yeah, I mean, you think about the time frame of who you're talking to. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, Melvin.
So,
again,
guys, tonight we decided we were going to do an open forum, open questions, whatever you guys want to ask. If you want to ask questions, we're here to answer them. We didn't have a specific topic tonight because, well, we've been pretty predisposed. So, this is when your paranormal questions come out. If you have questions about paranormal, psychic, crystals, you name it, we can answer it. We will.
Like Chrissy said, can you unintentionally open a door? I've never tried to willfully open a door myself. I get to think about it a little bit more often when it happens to me than my doing it myself. Thank you, Chris. We appreciate it. Yeah, Katie at the farm. That sounds about right.
I love it.
And well, Tammy says that EVPs are her favorite part of the investigation. I think they are for me as well. Penny Hurst says good evening. Jim Brown, how's it going? And thank you again, Penny, for sharing. We appreciate it very, very much. The inability to be at the utmost of a exciting level is my brain and my body just have said, you're done. You're tired. So yeah. The paranormal hangover is real. And if you get a chance to enjoy it, enjoy it.
Exactly. Ride the wave, Richard. Ride the wave. Okay, so opening doors. So that is potentially possible. Anytime you do an active divination, you can unintentionally open a door. So what you're doing is you're creating that opening from one dimension to another. It can, basically you're opening that door of communication. It's all about closing the door. Do we do it unintentionally? No. Normally, as paranormal investigators and psychic mediums, we walk in with intent in mind. In other words, we're going into that moment to communicate. So we kind of know what we're dealing with, or try to discover what we're dealing with. But I don't think necessarily entering a building, you're going to unintentionally open up a door. Perhaps bringing a trigger object, or being consciously aware and kind of being consciously in the forefront of that situation. So if you knowingly bring something haunted into a war museum and it's a I don't know, an old helmet, as Richard had mentioned before, yeah, that can kind of start to trigger things and open things up. So oftentimes when hauntings occur, you'll live in a house for 25 years and there'll be nothing. You start to do renovations and you open a door. You're unintentionally opening that door, but you're trying to do the renovations, and that the dormant spirits, the dormant entities, they're waking up and they're starting to communicate or starting to cause reactions, right? So there are times when that happens, but as paranormal investigators and both Richard and I are psychic mediums, we don't go in kind of haphazard, kind of going, well, if it's open, it's open. We have intent in mind to keep us and our team safe.
Right. Absolutely. Now, Chris Madrid said, question, do you feel that activity during the day versus night means the entity is stronger? No. That's like an immediate no for me. I'll tell you what it is. I've had a lot of people ask, so why do you investigate at night? Because it's busier? No. I have been in buildings. We were in Octagon Hall yesterday. Most of the activity that we had happened while it was still daylight. I mean, if you look at that video live I did, a video feed I did live on Facebook, it was still daylight. It was probably somewhere around, I don't know, 2 or 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. But here's the scenario there that makes it different, makes it why we want to do it at night. Number one, deprivation. Sight deprivation enhances other feelings. It enhances other senses. So if you lose light because you're investigating in the dark, that'll amplify the other senses out, so you're a little more susceptible and sensitive. Number two, traffic dies down. You don't have as much contamination, number one. Number two, you also don't have a lot of shadowing effect. Number three, lighting. If you're operating during the daytimes, a lot of times lighting and light matrixing can happen. And it'll look like you've got shine. You get shine from people's windshields of their car, from the sun. You get it from headlights sometimes. You get it from cars passing by. So, that takes away a lot of what you're able to pick up well during the day. But if you had an absolutely dark place that was quiet, wouldn't matter what hour of the day it was, you would have the same level of activity. And that's just kind of something that a lot of people just have asked a lot in the past. They really have.
And you know what, Richard, we should kind of talk a little bit about residual energy too. Residual energy is a little different than intelligent energy. In other words, residual is kind of the back loop, the back replay of said haunting. So just because you hear a door knocking every night at 3:30 doesn't mean the activity is more at night, but that's when the time loop occurs, right? So a lot of people mistake residual energy because they feel that it's only haunting at night, when really that's all it is that residual replay of events reoccurring over and over again. It's not specifically time related on this side, but on the other side, that's why it's occurring.
Right. Dean said, what do you think about the lunar eclipse tonight? Don't give cats the catnip because they're already crazy, lol. The lunar eclipse it's an energy pull, right? And anytime you operate with an energy change, that changes moods and behaviors of people. Trust me, I know. I was a cop, and you would tell during full moons or eclipses or whatever, you would have stranger activity than some. But a lot of that has to do with the pull of the energy and whatnot. Nadine says, is it ever too late to start trying to help others when you have abilities? And I know I had the same exact conversation with somebody yesterday at Octagon Hall. I had a young man who, he wanted to help. He wanted to use his abilities to help other people. And my first statement to him was no. My other statement was learn how to protect yourself first. Understand what you've got going on second with yourself, and learn how to manage it third. And when you can do that, then you can step in and help. It's natural to want to help when you have the ability to help. And that's great that you want to help, but you'll wind up causing yourself more grief, I think. If you don't have a good management of what's going on with yourself, you can really throw a wrench in the supposed monkey works with just jumping in and trying to help folks. But if you have a strong management of what's going on with you, if you have a good way to protect yourself, if you have a good path with what you're doing to where you're confident in it, I say help people as often as you can. I know Katie does it. I do it as often as you can. I mean, I walked out of there yesterday saging somebody I didn't even know because I could look at him and go, "Oh yeah, you got an attachment. Oh yeah, you've got some paranormal sludge. So we need to go take care of that." Is this? I think the quick decision to want to help sometimes is a little misguided, and I think it's ill preparedness that actually creates more problems than anything else. You know, you get to a point. I've been doing this 26 years, investigating everything else. I've had the situation with being a psychic medium since I was a kid, just like Katie. You know, but when you start doing this to a point where you're making an impact in someone's life, yours had better be in check first, and you better know how to manage all of this before it happens. Or you could have, again, a lot of problems. A lot of problems.
Yeah, you know the old saying, ignorance is bliss. In other words, you don't realize, you know, what I've learned is that the less that I thought I knew, the more that the less that I knew, the more I thought I knew. The more that I know now, the less I know that I know. So everybody walks in there thinking that they're safe or thinking they're protected. And to this day, Richard and I both, you know, I've been investigating now for 22 years officially this year. You know, the things that I've learned in that time frame, like that's crazy in the sense that, you know, what I knew then to what I know now and how I would approach situations and what I would do. I mean, I didn't investigate as much as I do now with back then, but the bottom line is I walked into my first investigation not knowing anything and could have brought something home and it would have been very detrimental. Even with my gifts, you have to realize that when you have gifts, you are a beacon, you are a lighthouse, you know, on a shoal, and therefore they're going to want to communicate with you. They're going to want to have more connection to you. Okay, so you have to be careful. Yes, we all want to help people. Yes, you know, I think it's so important that when you have abilities and you want to do these things, you don't do it for selfish reasons. Quite frankly, I don't think abilities will get better if you're into it for selfish reasons, for money or for fame or for anything like that. It has to be kind of selfless in a way. And so, you know, if you're wanting to help others, that's a beautiful thing, but just make sure, you know, a doctor's not going to do a surgery without knowing how to use a scalpel, because if he cuts himself, everybody's in trouble, right? So it's the same type of thing as an investigator, as a psychic. You want to make sure that you're protected, so therefore you're walking into this situation protected.
All right, well, we have a crystals question here, Katie. Francine said, should I be putting my crystals out on the window tonight with the lunar eclipse?
Absolutely. You know what I did today when I did my meditation? I meditated outside. I have a little travel bag on my crystals and I put them out in the sun. Not as great as the moon, but it does do the trick. So don't be afraid to do that. Stick them out, leave them on the windowsill, stick them outside if it's not going to rain, especially if there's nothing water soluble. Malachites, selenite, those types of things, you shouldn't get wet. But yeah, absolutely.
You're welcome, Francine. Yeah, you know, and guys, you've gotta take care and maintain those crystals. You really do. You know, I always tell, I've given away several because a friend of mine has given away Super 7 stone to me, for example. And I've purchased a couple of others and given them to people that I thought could need it. And if you know, I have a habit of taking it out and holding it in my hands and just holding it. And just generating as much energy to it as I can. You know, I wasn't to be absolutely directly honest, I wasn't very big on crystals until about 2 years ago when I met this one. Right here. Yeah, that one there. And now, you know, I'm a firm believer in it. It's just kind of one of those things where at any time when you're in the paranormal, I think you need as many edges as you can get. I think you need to be able to hedge your bets as often as you can. And I think that if you're willing to have enough faith and commitment, because honestly, you can carry a rock in your pocket. If you have no faith or commitment into it, it's going to do you nothing but carry weight. That's all it's going to be. So, you know, Super 7 stones, so none of it matters. I mean, it could be anything. And all you're going to want to do is carrying a weight if you don't have enough confidence in what that stone is or crystal is able to do for you. It's the same thing with anything. You know, I have always, you know, I've always tried to take care of people that have needed. I think we have a responsibility to watch out for each other.
Mhm.
Like I said last time, I wound up having a sage, and not only use sage but Palo Santo wood as well, to kind of release a lot of the crap that was on this guy yesterday. I didn't know who he was, but the thing was, I could read the energy. So I mean, he could have gotten himself crystals and stones that might help him down the road, but he had to get clear first. So I really think, just real brief. I know it's a little off the track, but man, guys, look out for each other. I mean, seriously, if you got a member of your team not acting right, if you got a member of the public that isn't acting right, and if you have any abilities at all and you can read the energies, don't leave them hanging. Just don't leave them hanging. Just help take care of it. That would be a solid plus. I
Right.
mean, like, I need to be saged now. I'm going to go outside and probably sage myself for in a minute when we're done with the show, because it's just a lot of sludge came onto me from the building last night. I can feel it. My attitude sucks. I'm wiped out, exhausted.
Well, we weren't
And
going to say anything. Okay.
what's that?
So, well, we weren't going to say anything. No, I'm kidding.
No,
You
it's
just
already been told to me already by others, so that's okay.
you just look
And
tired. That's all. You just look tired.
I'm whipped. I'm tired.
would-
I'm tired. And I'm cranky. And I don't like being an asshole, but sometimes I can be.
Oh. We just went there.
Yeah, I went there.
No, you know what, guys? I encourage you, if you're going to be working with crystals, put them out. Answer that question, put them out. The moon is wonderful. I would encourage you to do that. Remember, recalibration is the best thing. Every different crystal has a source of different vibration, and that's what you want. You want it to go back. When you hold something with you, it starts to calibrate with your energy, and so that vibration is not as effective. So it's really good to kind of put it back to zero, so that you're able to use them efficiently.
Trying to go through. We have a lot of comments.
I know, so many.
Richard is being an ass again. Tammy, who you been talking to? Yeah. And Melvin said I spent too much time with Bear. No, actually, I didn't spend as much time as I like to with Bear yesterday. Bear is the guy who kind of runs things over there at Octagon Hall. He's a great guy. I've known Bear for years. And he's a great guy. I didn't spend enough time with him yesterday. But yeah, we had a good time though. That's all that matters.
That's all that matters. Now, Jen Ducker had said, "How do you know if you're going through a spiritual awakening?" That's a great question. That is such a great question. Spiritual awakenings. So, spiritual awakening. So basically, I explain it like a bicycle. So not everybody knows how to drive, but a lot of us know how to use bicycles. So picture a 10-speed bicycle, or a bicycle that changes speeds. In order to do that, you can you can pedal really fast, easily, or you can pedal a little bit harder and get farther. The bottom line is that the gears change. Okay, the sprocket changes the gears, and you get different places at different speeds. When you're going through a spiritual awakening, your vibrational frequency is heightening, but sometimes your body doesn't do it at the same time. So you're going to start to notice some physical changes. You may notice lightness or shortness of breath. You may notice lightheadedness, dizziness, tingling sensations. You may notice insomnia. You may notice that your digestive tract is off. You may notice that some of your chakras are stuck. You may notice your emotions change, or you may be going through different bouts of quickly depression to happiness to sadness, mood swings. Bottom line, your body starts to physically do some changes. And I get phone calls on a weekly basis from people saying, "I don't know what's wrong with me." And I said, "Oh, you've started to meditate, or you've started to work on a paranormal field, or you've started to do this, you started to do that." And they're, yes. That's the spiritual awakening happening. You're going to notice synchronicities. You're going to notice affirmations. You're going to notice, so synchronicities meaning you think of somebody and that happens, or your extrasensory perception is heightened, okay? In terms of affirmation and validation, you're going to start to see spirit numbers. So 111, 222, 555. You'll start to notice that the people that are surrounded, you're with, you're going to notice the type of vibrational frequency that they have. So the depressive, you're going to notice how their vibration works, the happy, and you're going to start to gravitate differently towards different people. In other words, the people that used to make you happy don't make you happy anymore. And That doesn't mean everybody. That just means that you start to realize your vibrations heightening and you can't relate to those who keep their vibrations low anymore. And so it's kind of, it all happens at once. And I explain it like a raging river because you kind of don't know what to expect. Your body's going through some things, your mind's going through another. Spiritually, you're starting to elevate. And a lot of people call it a midlife crisis, and I call it a midlife awakening. That's my answer.
Very cool. Very cool. David Kieran said, I was asked to discuss energy. What type of energy are we talking about, David? Be kind of curious to hear that. We're more than happy to talk about it with you. We just need to know what kind of energy you're talking about. That would help. But let me see. Tara says, I'm currently trying to save a plant. Is there a crystal that can help it?
You're trying to save a plant. Well, I would, you know what? Plants. So plants love vibrations. So not necessarily in a crystal level, but you could put it close to music, soothing music, uplifting music. That would change things. I would say rose quartz would be wonderful. Rose quartz would be good. I would stick rose quartz around it. And you could use jade. Jade would be really good too.
Okay. Let's see here. Chrissy says, I'm either experiencing a midlife awakening or I feel like I'm losing my mind.
Darling, we are in a time that is really, really tough. We're going through a retrograde. We're going through a new year with many changes. We're going through, we're kind of on the, I don't want to say the ending, I won't even say that word, but I did, of a pandemic. We're going through, a lot of people are vibrating differently. You'll find that through the self-reflection this past year, a lot of people have been forced to be home, and they've been forced to doing a lot of self-reflection and changing how they think, changing their modes, changing their habits, and that has changed the universal consciousness. A lot of people are being anxious or depressed or suffering from that anxiety. You are no different. You may be tapping into that universal feeling, or it could be you in itself. So it's really important when people feel like they're going through these awakenings. You really want to make sure that is that energy yours. This is when you ground yourself, you meditate, you make sure that it in fact is your energy, because the empathic people out there are picking up on that energy and carrying it like it's theirs. And I suspect a little bit of that is happening to you.
Now, David said, when I passed, my soul was in the form of energy. When you passed, are you saying you're not living?
I think what he's trying to, I think what he's alluding to is that when you die, what is the energy like? What is it being like? I'm going to assume that's what it is.
I'm assuming he said it when I passed. That was going to read
my question. When you die, when a person dies.
Oof. I've seen death in many forms. I've seen death happen in front of me many times. The spirit or soul of a person has been known to depart the body before the body dies. I've seen it happen, and that is sometimes just the human spirit's way of not suffering the loss, not suffering the way that it would normally go, and not going through anything else. They're done. They're done. So the soul gets departed from the body. Yeah, I mean, anything is in a form of energy. I mean, after death, anything you deal with it is after death is energy, right? I mean, you go into a building, it's an EVP, it's energy. It's a vibration they create with the vibration to make the sound and the noise and the voice that you hear. It's not really a voice. They don't have a larynx. They don't have a voice box, but they had the ability to make the vibrations in a certain way that allows them to be able to create a similar or familiar noise to what they sounded like or what they want to say. Again, the reason why spirits have been able to pass through walls. Well, number one, the wall wasn't there probably when they were alive. Number two, because they're made out of energy, they had the ability to pass through things like walls and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, everything is energy. I mean, that was really the premise of tonight's show, was pure energy, because that is everything that goes on is energy.
And I think what people don't realize is that everything in a physical form is a form of energy too. It's the density of the energy that brings it together. So a piece of wood is energy. Not only is it on an energy standpoint from the life of it, but also the physical form of it. So,
Right.
so as Richard said, energy can manifest in many different forms. Water is energy, air is energy, right? And so when somebody passes, that transference of energy changes from the physical form. It stays into that energy form, and it kind of crosses dimensionally. But it can manifest in many different ways. As Richard said, like there's many different forms. The larynx, the voice box. I mean, it's to be able to manipulate, go from something non-physical to something not physical, but you're actually hearing it. That's astounding. So there's many things that it can do. It can also affect, how you feel. So energy isn't always visual. Sometimes you walk into a room and you feel funny about something. You get the heebie-jeebies. You like you're being watched. You're starting to feel ill. It can manipulate your energy, and it's not even it doing it. So it's so many different
Now,
forms.
Anna brings up
That's
a really
okay.
interesting point because I've been here and done that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've been there and done that. It says he said, if you enjoy the paranormal and want to be involved a lot, would you think you can overdo it? Should you take a break even if you think you're feeling fine? Yes. As a guy who frankly feels like I'm sitting on that brink now, yes, I have stepped away from the paranormal for 6, 7 months or a year before, and just to break away from it. There is such a thing as overexposure. There is, and that can be detrimental to your physical being. It can be detrimental to your home life. It can be detrimental to a lot of things. I mean, it's just a matter of one of those things where if you put it ahead of other things in your life, that's when when you start thinking of, well, hey, I can go investigate and investigate and investigate. Oh, I've got a life. Oh, you need to stop. And honestly, too, your body and your brain need a break. The only time I've never seen a brain or a body or a spirit, human living spirit, take a break is when they're a psychic medium. We can't take a break. We're not allowed to. But people without abilities, people with certain abilities, you can take a break and step away. I've done it just to be able to get fresh air and break away from the activity. I've done that. But yeah, no, I believe that there are times that you need to step, even if you are feeling fine. I believe there are times you need to step away, regroup. It's what I was told a long time ago by my dad: take a knee and breathe. Because sometimes that's what you need to do for yourself. So yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with it. It's going to be there. Trust me. The paranormal's always going to be there. That won't even be a problem. I
Yep.
can guarantee it. Now, Crystal, but first of all, welcome, Crystal. She says, how do you know if your chakra is blocked? And what do you think about twin flames?
Oh.
I'll handle a twin flame thing. You handle a chakra thing. How about that?
Sure.
Sure.
That's great.
Okay.
Sure.
Twin flames. If you ever look up the definition of twin flames, you ever look up the definition of it, and it'll also tell you the good, bad, and the ugly about twin flames. Twin flames, I've had mine. I think I even have mine now in my life. They can be absolutely outstanding when things are great. They're great. When they're not, they're shit. And that is the problem with being a twin flame. You could be extremely strong, tight individuals together. You could be the dynamic duo. Okay. But then there are going to be those times you're going to be slamming heads. You're not going to be thinking the same way. You're going to be at odds ends with each other from time to time. It's a struggle. It's a fight. And if that thing or that person in your life isn't worth the struggle of being a twin flame of yours, then you need to step away from it. I've had to do it.
Yeah, twin flames. So, and I just want to kind of add to that. So, twin flame is the mirror of you. Twin flames is your soul split into two. And essentially, twin flames is not the same as a soulmate, a little different. But essentially, every time that you are reincarnated, your twin flame is brought back together with you to help you self-love. Your twin flame, we all have one, okay, has been brought to us in order to help us grow as an individual. It brings out the good, it brings out the bad, it brings out the ugly. As Richard said, when it's good, it's good. Not all twin flames are supposed to be together for life. It is supposed to help with that growth. And when the growth is done, sometimes you guys depart. Sometimes you move on. That's when you may move on to your soul mate. It is not until you self-love, you work on you, that you will be brought together.
Right.
I have a twin flame. Richard has a twin flame. Sometimes they're thousands of kilometers away, and sometimes they're 2 kilometers away, or I could say miles. The twin flame journey is sometimes very frustrating. Bottom line, you have to work on you, and you have to do self-growth in order for things to change. Now, going on to, you had asked about chakras. So chakras, for those of you that don't know, are different energy sources throughout the body. Now, a lot of times we don't even realize that our chakras are out of alignment or our chakras are clogged, but sometimes physical manifestation occurs. So you may, in your throat chakra, you may have a hard time talking. You may be getting headaches or brain fog. You may be having digestive problems, okay, in your root chakras. There's, you may have problems with your feet or feet swelling. I encourage you guys to do grounding techniques to open up your chakras through meditation. You can use crystals, you can use crystal grids, those types of things to help. But it's really important to get yourself somebody who knows, who can see the chakra blockages, who knows how to clear the blockages, to kind of go up for your checkup, your annual checkup or monthly checkup, to make sure that things are flowing. If you start to notice that things are starting to go awry and it's not working for you, a lot of times your chakras are blocked. And that's when an Access Bar of Consciousness, where you run your bars to cleanse that, as well as changing your chakras, help.
Yeah, good point. Now, Herbie says, if you have an out-of-body experience, can you accidentally bring anything back with you? Here's the thing, out-of-body experience. If you're talking about something like astral projection, there's an opportunity that your empty shell may capture a friend or two. And that's really, it's hard for me to think that energy attachment is more viable than leaving your shell empty and something jumping in your place. That I could definitely get behind and say, I believe yes. As far as you being out of your shell and as in an astral projection and bringing something home with you, I've not seen any evidence of that. Have you, Katie?
I have seen you bringing back sludge with you.
Yeah.
Basically more than you left with, but not necessarily an entity going, "Ooh, I'm coming home with you." It's usually your vessel that's in trouble, and that's why you want to make sure that you're protected when you're leaving your vessel.
Right.
Agreed.
Yeah. Gotta be careful. Now we're going back to the plant thing. I've been told plants keep dying in my house, even though I care for them because they're absorbing negativity. Is that true?
It absolutely can. Also could be entities. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Could be anything.
The best way to tell is to remove the plant, take it to another place, see what it does. But when you do remove the plant, make sure that you're putting it in the same window. You understand? So first I would move it from the room that it's in, change the window. Sometimes it's the feng shui, and sometimes it's not necessarily your energy. Sometimes it could be a ley line. It could be electromagnetic fields. It could be energy from your, furnace. For those of you that live in the States, it could be your AC, like down in the South. It could be electromagnetic fields can also cause disturbances with plants too. So it's not necessarily paranormal, but it's energy related. So you want to remove the plant from the area. If it's still not doing well, try and remove it from the house. Take it to a friend's house. See how it works. If you notice a difference and it's pretty instantaneous, then you know it's something to do within the house. It's not always paranormal though.
Now Valerie says, can a sibling turn out to be a twin flame? Well, siblings already have a soul tie. Mm-hmm. Okay? There's already a soul tie with siblings. As far as them being a twin flame, I could be wrong. Kitty could correct me. It's perfectly fine. I might yell, scream, rant, rave, pull my hair out, but she can correct me. It's okay. I don't believe so. I think there is a different connectivity to a person who is your twin flame that is outside of the family tie, the soul tie of the family. But, there's a lot of energies that play into that whole sibling, or even worse, twins. There's energies there that'll scare you. But, with siblings, I know I personally am the baby of 9. I have an extraordinarily strong contact point and energy connection to my eldest sister, who's my eldest, who's alive. Um, we can call each other and finish each other's sentences. Um, we have the same outlook on life. We have a lot of things that kind of fall into that whole line of, twin flame, but it's not that situation. What that situation is what I believe to be shared family energy. When you hang around somebody, you're raised with somebody, you spend time with somebody, eventually there becomes a lot of familiarity and a lot of similarity. And I think after a while, personalities even begin to blend. And I think that that is kind of where we find that with siblings. So I don't think twin flames could exist in the sibling world. Do you, Katie?
No, I agree with you. We are all here on different levels. So we're here on karmic contracts. So a karmic level, we are here. We all have soul contracts. We're all intermittent. Okay, we're all together intermittently, and we're here together for different variant reasons. Sometimes it's for life. Sometimes it's for a short period of time. There's never a coincidence. Okay. With a twin flame, it's a divine union. In other words, you're brought together for the purposes of self-growth. Okay, in that mirror sense. When it comes to siblings and it comes to friends and it comes to there's soul sisters, soul brothers, all of that stuff, but we had kind of written it in the stars for us to come together and learn from each other. We're not necessarily learning about ourselves with our other soul family, right? With the people that we've incarnated with. But the twin flame is we trigger each other. Okay, you trigger each other's biggest weaknesses in order to stimulate growth. That's why it's triggered. And you'll notice that when you have a twin flame, the synchronicities in terms of the problems that each of you are having, there's the divine masculine, there's the divine feminine. It doesn't have to be male, doesn't have to be female. It can be male, male, female, female. It can be opposite. It's just how it's identified. Essentially what's happening is through that, you're triggering each other and making each other grow and get better. And there's a divine timing to it. In other words, it just doesn't happen by chance, happenstance. You're brought together at a certain time in your life for this spiritual growth. And again, you may go apart, you may come together. For a twin, there's more of that soul connection where you are soul tied together. The soul tie is the family on the other side as well as here. So you've been together. Sometimes you're reincarnated as husband and wife, brother and sister, mom and dad. So it's a little different than that twin flame connection. Same with a soulmate connection. Very rare soulmates. In my experience, very, very rare have I seen a soulmate. But it has occurred.
Now, Valerie makes an interesting point. She says that my youngest sister and I were not raised in the same home, but were oddly twin-like. I think, again, that goes back to the energy tie, the soul tie. There are a lot of cases out there where
Michael,
you'll have family members who are separated, that, the sisters may be a year older than the other, or brothers maybe a year older than the other, or what have you, and there is such a close connection, energy-wise, between the two, that is, they will meet up with each other one day, and they find out they dress alike, and they have certain values that are the same, and it's not just a matter of what they look like. There's a lot of similarities in how they operate in life, and that's that sharing of the energy. It's that connectivity, and that is something I think isn't very well discussed in even the paranormal. I think the connectivity to certain things isn't very well discussed at all, and I think we miss a big moment in the paranormal by not discussing the connection, energy connection to different people and different things and different situations. There are people that, for example, not go off topic, but I'm going to go ahead, who say, oh, I'm drawn to this place. Yeah, you might be, and that may be happening, but be careful of that attachment. Be careful all the time. But yeah, there are things about it. I went to Octagon Hall last night. The first time I went there, I fell in love with the place. There is a comfort and a benign energy level there that just kind of attracts you. And that's part of the attraction we talked about on the last show we did, was that kind of attraction to things. It's different when it attracts you for what I consider the negative reasons. oh, it's crazy, it's this, it's that. Yeah, back when I was in my 20s, I probably would have said, hey, let's do it. But I was also young and stupid. Now, I don't want any part of the craziness, crazy energy. I want to just hang out and talk to somebody. Like I said, last night I asked somebody who the current president was, and for them, and they were like, Abraham Lincoln. That's a conversation point we need to have at some point. But it's, to me, that's the cooler side of the connection in the paranormal. Um, the three boys that, Lori has that we share together, they're all different in age, but man, you watch them act together and they're very, very similar. They don't live together. They have operate in different lives. So I think that's all possible. I think we have that connection one way or the other. I think that soul tie connection that Katie talked about and I talked about, I think that's a bigger part of the puzzle in the family dynamic than most people give it credit for. Mm-hmm. I know it's a long way to get to that point, and I apologize. Yeah. Okay, so Lori, you're late. She says, Lori, sorry I'm late. Hi, all.
Okay,
Lori, you're fired.
Somebody had asked about
that's a question I got up on the screen.
No, but yes.
No, but yes. Francine says, Ken, the gift that you two have ever been taken from you at any time in your lifetime? Yeah. I think it's okay. Here's my take, and I'd love to hear Kitty's take because she's far more established as a psychic medium than I am. Okay, so I believe with the abilities that her and I have, albeit they're different. Every psychic medium is different than the other. I think with the abilities that we have, that tremendous ability comes with a tremendous responsibility. And I think if you don't exercise and operate that level of responsibility correctly, yeah, I think you could lose your gifts. I think also, too, if you don't utilize your gifts, I've seen it drive people crazy. I have literally seen psychic mediums that don't operate in their gifts, don't what I call dump or download what they need to people. I have seen it literally drive them insane. And it's kind of like, you can walk around with all these messages in your head. How do you not get rid of that? But for me, it's more of, for my thought of it is, it's more of, I feel I have a responsibility. Yes, I had to learn how to manage what I have. I had to learn how to protect myself. I had to learn how to be able to operate what I consider professionally around people as a psychic medium. That way, they have confidence in me as a psychic medium, that the reading I'm giving them is accurate, and it gives them something to go forward with. But I think that all of that is part of the responsibility that you have as a psychic medium, or anybody who has abilities, an empath. You have a responsibility. How you handle the dead, in my eyes, how you manage your time with the dead, in my eyes, is extremely important to you being able to maintain your abilities. What do you think about that, Katie?
I absolutely agree. I think that, okay, so to answer your question, I've had one instance where I walked into a location. I was asked to go and do a cleansing. And for the first time in my life, I was cloaked. I won't say that my abilities were taken away from me, but I was cloaked in the sense that all of a sudden I couldn't see, feel, or hear anything on a psychic level. And that was more scary to me than walking into a demonic situation. It was an empty feeling. It was a vulnerable feeling. I didn't realize growing up the abilities that I had. I just thought I was normal. It wasn't until I was speaking to other people that I realized that I had these abilities, right? And so to say that they are taken away from you, I don't think something can take it away as much as you can. Your fear can subdue it. Your selfishness can subdue it. Your ill intention can subdue it. But to say that they'd be gone, no. Again, being cloaked. But yeah, I've had that. Now, as you had said, Richard, about it's your responsibility and it can get worse. Absolutely. I never, ever, ever grew up wanting to be a fortune teller. I never grew up going, "Ooh, I want to be a psychic." That was not my intent. I had my plans as a kid of what I was going to do. I ended up running a real estate office for 10 years, and I used to train horses, and that was kind of what I did. But my universe got to become a living hell until I embraced this. And that's what happens. The universe doesn't tell you no. The universe doesn't put a wall up and say you can't go there. What the universe does is make your life harder until you make the choice to deviate your course, and it kind of puts you in the direction that you're supposed to be in. So I thought about doing readings for years. I investigated a lot longer than I did readings, simply because I was not confident in it. And it wasn't until the universe basically backed me into a corner and said, "You're doing this. This is what you're doing," that I said, okay, I'll do it. And I love what I do. This is my dharma. I feel like I'm supposed to be doing this in my life, but it wasn't my first choice. And you'll find that as you develop your abilities, these things are going to start, it's going to get stronger, and it's going to get more in your face. And when that starts to occur, you got to be working with it.
Yeah. Now, Anthony says something here I want to bring up. He said, "Hi, guys. England here, looking for intelligent chat. The paranormal world's an endless dripping tap, and you think you got it all along. Along comes some more water. Do you think Bigfoot was on the ark?" Okay.
Wow, that is awesome. Greetings from across the pond, first of all.
Okay, obviously you weren't up till 2:00 in the morning investigating dead people. Because I'm not coming across with that kind of intelligent banter or witty banter at this point. Let me go ahead and piss off the Bigfoot hunters of the world. My belief, and it's solely my belief. So if you're going to hate on somebody, God bless it. Hate on me. I'm okay with it. I'm used to it. Bigfoot is an energy being. Bigfoot is not a flesh and blood animal that came over on the ark. If you look back at any kind of Native American or Aboriginal, as they call it in the Great White North, Aboriginal research, they will talk about something called a guardian. No one has found a body. No one has found a baby. No one has had physical handshake, contact, touch, capture of anything. Because honestly, it's energy. If you look at, this is going to sound really crazy, but if you look at a map of Bigfoot sightings, just to touch on this briefly, because I've had people ask, if you look at a map of Bigfoot sightings, you're going to see that map follows ley lines. And those ley lines give off energy. Okay? There's never been a clear enough picture. Have you ever seen a really super clear picture of a spirit? Do you want to know why? Because they're energy. Energy undulates. Energy moves. So I might not be the most popular guy in the world right now, but again, I'm okay with that. It's my truth, and I'll live with it. But no, I don't think Bigfoot was on the ark. No.
Yeah. I think that the bottom line, if I could for a moment, no matter what broadcast you listen to, no matter what, how respected, the podcast you're watching, it's important to do your own research. I tell everybody, you got to listen to your gut. You got to take away what you can, and you got to reference your own stuff, including what we're telling you. We're only telling from our experience, and it's important. So I understand when you say that there's a lot going on and there's paranormal world is big, but it's important to do your own research as well, and don't be afraid to look into the references, and don't always rely on Google or what paranormal television is telling you. Both Richard and I have been, we're part of a few television shows, and we're proud to say that what we did was with integrity. But a lot of the shows out there are for entertainment purposes, and that doesn't mean that they're fake. That just means that they have hyped up or changed or tried to make it for a spook factor. So it's important that you really kind of do your own research and come up to your own conclusions.
Yeah, I absolutely fully agree with that. You need to go ahead and do your own research. Don't listen to the hype. Don't watch the shows and figure that's gospel. Get on out there and do the research. I mean, just look it up, experience it. Valerie said, "Can depression and illness cause a temporary loss in abilities?" I would absolutely agree with that.
Yes.
I think your mind is the most powerful weapon, enemy, or ally you have. there are times that your mind will say, you can't deal with this right now.
Mhm.
And it'll shut whatever it needs to shut down to keep you from seeing it. There are a lot of people that are very, very sensitive to the paranormal, but because their minds are not, their mind knows that it's not prepared to see an apparition, you probably won't because your mind is trying to protect you. It's the same thing when you're sick or depressed. When you come down a level of energy, okay, when you're sick, you start going into the lower ends of energy because you're sick. Your vibration's lower. It's, you know, if it were higher, you wouldn't be sick. Your brain starts, and you know, your own being starts trying to protect itself, and that's really what it does. That's my belief, anyway. What do you think, Katie?
Agreed. So your physical brain and your spiritual consciousness are two separate things. And Richard and I have touched base on this before. When your brain is in charge of keeping you alive,
Thank you,
right?
David.
Don't go there, you could get hurt, that's dangerous, that's safe. Your spiritual consciousness is the one that makes more of your spiritual decisions. We have an inner battle that's going all the time. It's the Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. Okay. Easter Bunny, Thanksgiving, Santa Claus, all of that our brain is responsible for: doing the laundry, paying the car insurance, driving to work on time. Our spiritual consciousness is the one who's making, the better decisions and trying to stick with our gut feelings and trying to keep ourselves ascending and keep ourselves balanced. And that balance is the key. We have a hard time with balance because, if you're worried about the car insurance, how can you be worried about meditating? The bottom line is, when you are depressed, when you're having a chemical imbalance in your brain, or you're grieving, your spiritual consciousness takes the back seat a lot of times, and it kind of slows things down. Okay. And so you're putting a block up. It's you. It's not your spiritual consciousness. And so that's why in a dream state, or when you're doing meditation and opening your subconsciousness, you may be able to receive a lot more messages or spiritual contact or paranormal experiences, because you're balanced, you're centered, you're not judging the situation. Then there's the other end of the spectrum. There are a lot of people that are in mental institutions, or that have schizophrenic tendencies, that are really psychic, but they've been given a written diagnosis of otherwise. And there are mental illness out there. There is, those who are suffering from mental illness, but a lot, some of the cases, really, it's psychic abilities that they don't know how to ground themselves or filter out. And so it can kind of go from one spectrum to the other, and you really have to pay attention to that. If you're feeling depressed or you're grieving, a lot of times your spiritual abilities will start to slow down until you're over that process. So if you're missing somebody who's passed away, and you're not making contact. I get phone calls all the time, and Richard, you do too. My grandmother died and she hasn't come. I don't understand. I just wanted to let me know she's okay, and I haven't seen her in a dream. She hasn't come to me. A lot of times that's because you're grieving, and when you get over that physical active grief, and the acceptance occurs, that's when you start to have your experiences.
Right. Fully agree. Good points. Jane said, I've been blocking for years because the energy happens so strong too fast, but interesting, after spending a week with my elderly sick mom, who had many spirit visitors all week, I couldn't block and got them full on. Wasn't as fearful as I thought it would be. Okay, so let me touch on this for a minute. The biggest fear we all have as people regarding the metaphysical is the fear of the unknown. That's the biggest fear you're going to run across, is the fear of the unknown. So for me, I just had a personal experience with someone about this in particular. They weren't quite sure how far to take their exposure to the paranormal, because they were not sure, if coming full on with them, so to speak, was a good idea. They're not sure if they could manage them. Quite frankly, it's a lot easier to manage your experience and exposure to the paranormal while you're awake and cognizant than it is when you're asleep, because that's usually what happens. If you don't address it during the day, if you don't address it when you're on an investigation, if you don't address it while your cognitive thought process is at full throttle, and it happens to be at night because you don't think you can handle it, you're going to be more overwhelmed at night when you try to sleep than you would be during the daytime. Because during the daytime, in particular, as one individual, he had a lot of nightmares regarding the paranormal. And I believe now, hopefully, he won't. He was able to face them head on. He's able to see that he had more control over what was going on. in his experience with the paranormal than he thought he had. And when you gain that confidence in working with the paranormal, the fear goes away. Once you realize that you can actually step in and go, no, not today, not today. Yeah, I'll talk to you. And you can actually take a little charge of that while your thought process is running, while your consciousness is fully alert. You can manage it a lot better that way. You have a lot more time on your hands to manage it better that way. When you're asleep, you're the most vulnerable. When you're in that twilight sleep, you're the most vulnerable. So I'm going to say this only to make a point. But if you're going to try to address the paranormal exposure in your life and the experiences in your life, and you have so much of that going on while you sleep, try tackling it during the day. Try tackling it when you're awake, because that is when you're at your strongest. And that is when you'll learn how to manage it. I've got a couple of people in my life that have learned how to manage working with the paranormal now because they've addressed it during the daytime. They've addressed it during investigations where they didn't think they could. Once you do, you gain that confidence, you can move on and handle it a lot better than you would at night. And probably what is being found is, I have found, which I thought was interesting, was that because they're managing it during their time when they're awake, the amount of visitations at night has gone down.
Wow.
Because they're actually addressing more of it during the daytime. Because the metaphysical activity isn't having to wait until you're almost asleep to be able to make their approach. Because if you're willing to address it and allow them to approach you while you're cognizant, while you're awake, while you're in full alert consciousness, they're not going to need to come to you not as much. That's the experience that I've seen. That is the things that I've seen out of this. I thought were very, very interesting. Is that the more you can deal with it during the day, at least you'll have to deal with it at night. That is what I've seen so far twice.
You know what? I got nothing to add. That's amazing, because I mean, I agree. Honest to God, I 100% agree. I have got nothing to add to that. I think that was amazing. You'll find too that once you start kind of delving into the paranormal, you open that communication. Well, at least for me, I'm more afraid of the living than the dead. Like, if I hear footsteps at night and I jump up thinking that it's an intruder, I'm making it up, I don't know, an intruder or something, the minute that I know it's a ghost, I'm like, oh, thank God, we're fine, good night, and go back to sleep. Like, I'm more afraid of the living than the dead, but that's just me.
Right. No, I fully understand and fully agree. I'm just trying to read some of the comments. Anthony says, I make this as a joke, but it is really, you see Bigfoot, you say some extraterrestrial. I say big feet or Yeti, the endless dripping tap. Well, yeah, I mean, I think if you really sat back, and this is why I kind of snicker at people that say, oh, you've been in this business so long. God, you must know everything. Oh, hell no.
No.
What I know after 26 years of being in the paranormal could fill a thimble.
Right.
I could not tell you that right now. I saw things at Octagon Hall on my camera and on my investigators' cameras that would shock you. Things that aren't typically paranormal that you'd see on a regular investigation. Things that would just shock you. There are things going on in buildings that you can get exposure to that'll just make you wake up and realize the paranormal's kind of cranked. And it's not just because right now, because honestly, it has, again, a lot to do with the fact that we're able to pick up on it more now because we have equipment to be able to do so. I've got a phone camera now on my phone. I can take a nighttime photo at dark with barely moonlight and it looks like it's during the daytime. And it doesn't even have a flash. So, you know, I mean, there's a lot more tools out there now that we are able to use to be able to get into it. And as far as, you know, the paranormal being an endless dripping tap, of course it is. The more people keep dying, the more spirits, metaphysical beings keep passing through. There's always going to be paranormal.
Yep.
Even if you just take everything out of the equations, even if you take out elementals, you take out, you know, Bigfoot, you take out all of those kind of creatures, wraiths, you take those out of the picture, you just talk about actual dead humans. That's not going to end.
No.
It's never going to end. So it's always going to be a mounting process of a number of people. So, yeah, I agree with you, Anthony, on that. But, yeah, it's just, you know.
Now,
This is
Brad
kind of
Cooney
crazy.
had said, I had a chance to meet Todd Standing a few months back. That's pretty cool. So for those of you that don't know, Todd Standing is basically he's a film director. He filmed Bigfoot. He's Canadian. He's from Canada. And he was able to document some really cool Bigfoot sightings. And he got some flack for it for quite some time. But that's really cool that you got to meet him. I'm really happy for you. That's he was able to capture some really good evidence.
Now, Adam Tipler had made a comment. You have mentioned this on the show several times yourself, I've noticed, but he said I think I was being delayed yesterday by the spiritual world. I couldn't find my hat anywhere in the house delaying me to leave the house. I found my hat today in the garage that both my wife and I checked before. Yeah, Katie has made a point on this before. There are several ways, more ways than I think we can imagine, that a lot of the times the paranormal world will try its best to protect you. Loved ones, guides, what have you, will find ways to try to protect you. Yeah, I would fully agree with you, Adam. I think that is one of those kind of things where you look around. Oh my God, there it was the entire time. There's a reason why that happened. And there's a reason why it happened. So yeah, I would fully agree with you. I think that was a delay on purpose. I like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what they're doing is they're slowing you down. So, I've mentioned it before, you're frustrated because you're stuck behind some slow car. They're taking their time, like a Sunday drive, and really it's the spiritual world, that divine union, the divine's coming in and slowing you down to protect you. You don't know if 2 miles up the road you're not going to get into an accident, and they don't want you as part of that. So instead of getting frustrated, thank them. Good night, Robin.
Yeah, I mean, guys, it's just really there are so many things. I like I said, I had this young guy yesterday come to me and was trying to pick my brains about the paranormal, and I'm like, dude, you can ask a million questions, and you never have all the answers. There's not a shot in the world that you're going to have all the answers. Like I said, 26 years in this business, and I don't have all the answers. All the experiences change. All of the technology changes every quarter. We're finding out more and more new ways to be able to detect spiritual activity. We're finding more and more ways to connect to the spirit world. And I'm real big on, you know how it goes, Kitty. I'm real big on sit down, shut up, and listen. Guys, you want a really wild, you want a really wild experience. Go take a digital recorder, go into a building that's active, sit down in a chair, say, look, I'm here to talk to you. Say whatever you want to say right here in this red light. Set it down and just be quiet. You would be absolutely blown away surprised at what you capture. All of these people that go out here provoking, all these people that go out here thinking they got to crank it up, you're not impressing anybody. You're definitely not impressing the spirit world, because I'm going to tell you one thing about the spirit world that I do know is that if they don't want to deal with you, they won't. They won't. If they don't want to talk to you, if they don't want to engage you, they won't. They don't have to. They're not circus dogs. They don't have to have anything to do with you. And you go in acting a fool, or you go in doing certain things that probably shouldn't be done. You show them disrespect. I've seen it many, many times. An investigation gets shut down because somebody went disrespecting the spirit activity in the building. I've had to go back personally and apologize to the spirits in the building over what happened with the team prior to mine going in that building before I could get any kind of activity out of them at all. So, yeah, we just have to remain. I mean, would you walk into a group setting of people you don't know and tell them, hey, tell me your name. What are you doing here? What do you want to be here for? What are you doing here for? I mean, come on. Let's, blow you. Here's the thing. You want to blow your own mind. You want to caramelize your onion. Just ask questions that you would ask a friend if you had a friend that was nearly 300 years old. I did last night. Probably one of the most surreal experiences in the EVP world that I've ever had. And I know it's not going to sound like much to any of you guys, but being in the world that I've been in, when I hear a spirit tell me who he thinks the president is currently, and he says Abraham Lincoln, That automatically sets a time date stamp for you. And this was in a building that fits that time date stamp. So now you know for a fact you're talking to history.
So
Not
cool.
just, yeah, just not some person who's passed who wants to try to present and all that. You're talking to someone who was around when Abraham Lincoln was, the person who ended slavery,
Hmm.
you know? And we came into the midst of the Civil War because of that. But you're talking about a person that was alive during that time. How cool is that crap? I know I get off on that tangent from time to
No,
time. I
oh,
apologize, but
that's amazing. Now, Anthony Hayes says, lost my friend 2 days before Christmas. I'm sorry to hear that,
yeah,
Anthony. He came to me on the night he passed, as did another friend a few weeks later. I'm thankful they did. You know, that's a real blessing, Anthony. There's a lot of people out there that don't get that privilege. And I say call it a privilege because it's like winning the lottery. It's not because they don't want to come through. It's not because, you know, they're have better things to do. A lot of times it's your grieving process that actually withholds them, and it takes, you know, it takes a long time for them to come through. But you have to understand the transition period is different for everybody. Death is different for everybody. I've never met two the same
hey
spirits,
Rosie.
two different spirits that have died the same way, in the sense that how they transition, how their energy field crosses over. Sometimes people feel that they're being sucked out of their body. Sometimes they feel like they're floating out of the body. Sometimes they feel like they're suspended. Sometimes, you know, they'll describe it to me as going to a light or going to a dark, or, you know, a lot of them talk about
Thank
the
you,
feeling of
Rosie.
love. And so, you know, if they're able to come through and kind of give you that shift, let you know that they're okay, that is like winning the lottery, and be grateful for that. Unfortunately, in today's society, we have been taught that they need to be whipping something across the room. They need to be slamming doors. They need to be, giving you this Hollywood version of affirmation. When the fact that they can come through moments after they passed or days after they passed, that is a huge blessing. Sometimes it takes weeks. The ascension process can take weeks at a time to transition. So, you know, if you're getting that stuff, please, please be grateful for it. You know, because they are trying their hardest to come through.
And it sounds
Hey,
going to
Rosie.
sound silly, but thank them.
Hey,
Thank them.
Rosie. Yes.
I never go into a situation as an investigator ever in any building at any time, and that includes last night, where whatever we got, we were thankful for verbally. Because again, they don't have to deal with you.
No.
They don't. They've already been through enough, forgive me, crap in their life when they were living, that they don't need to do that when they pass. A lot of people don't, I guess, seem to understand. They think that when you're on the other side, that it's just like you are right now. Everything is clear as a bell. Everything is no, that's not what I've been told. I have been told similarly by a doctor who passed that it's kind of like being on Demerol. That you kind of you kind of feel a little disoriented. You're not really quite sure what's going on. And that's another reason why they head to where they're familiar. It's a comfort to them to go to someplace familiar. Now, that may have been somewhere where they worked 42 years of their life at a job. Maybe their house, but it's someplace familiar. Because I'm going to tell you, if I ever got shot up in Demerol and I was left out on the streets, first place I look for is home. But that is something we have to understand. Yeah, if you ever ask point blank, you know, what is it like on the other side? You're probably not going to get an answer. You're probably not. I've tried. Now, I've gotten EVPs where I've had spirits tell me go with God, be with Jesus. I've had those kind of EVPs. They're cool. They're great. Okay. But at the end, they're not going to tell you the secrets. And that doesn't mean it's time for you to get disrespectful. It doesn't mean it's time for you to be a person who provokes. Okay. It's not time for that. It's time for taking a different approach. Look for different answers. Look for, ask different questions that people wouldn't normally ask. I hate asking the typical questions. The typical questions drive me insane. If I had somebody sitting in front of me that was nearly 300 years old, I'd be like, what was life like for you? You know, what kind of things could you say to me? What would you say to me to make me try to have a better life for me? What could I do differently that you did? Or what would you like to do now if you had the chance? Things
Right.
like that, guys. I mean, those kind of questions and the answers will blow your mind. I mean, they really will. They'll blow your mind. But anyway, I get you. Don't get me on an EVP stump because I'll be singing that for the rest of my life. Gosh, we're already through an hour and
So
15.
I know that's crazy. So Jen says, if we get reincarnated, how are our loved ones still on the other side? This is a great question, Jen. So in my experience, reincarnation, the average death to rebirth is about 70 linear human years. Remember, there's no such thing as time on the other side. So two things occur. Number one, you may be reincarnated back into the 1500s, 1600s, 5th century. Two, when you're reincarnated again, there's a process on the other side that you are learning and preparing in order to reincarnate. So people will say to me, my grandmother died and my sister had a baby. Is it my grandmother? Most of the time, no. Most of the time, there's still things to be done on the other side before they come back and be reincarnated. It does happen. They can be reincarnated sooner, but for the most part, it doesn't happen that way. Our loved ones, you have to remember, our loved ones are not necessarily our loved ones on the other side. Remember, I've often talked about ghosts and spirits and them being two separate things. The ghosts are the earthbound entities. If I died as Katie, I would only remember Katie's thoughts. But when I transition over to the other side, I'm really not Katie anymore. So there's still the essence, the energy field of your loved ones, but you're also been all of these other people as well. And that ascension that occurs, that awakening that happens, you remember all of this. And this is like, think of those of you who have read a book. Okay, that book was just a book in time. There's a bunch of chapters, there's a bunch of life that happened in the book, but once you were done the book, you moved on to the next book. It's the same type of principle in the sense that you don't forget that book, but you're not that character in the book. That was just a part you were playing while you were reading it. The same type of thing happens in life and death. So don't look at it like they're not your loved ones anymore, but that's just a book in the volume of learning that you're doing. But it's still there. The book is still there to reference. You can go back to that life and reference that life. So if that explains it, I'm not sure, Richard, if you have anything to add to that.
I don't. I mean, I'd be right where you were at that conversation point. Guys, there's so many questions you could ask, and we'd love to hear them all. There are so many things you could share as experiences, and we'd love to hear them all. I don't think there's enough time on our side of things to fully understand it all. I don't think there ever will be. I think the more we dig, the more we have to dig further. And I think, I mean, it's one of those kind of things where you open Pandora's box. You jump down the rabbit hole, and oh crap, you just got to go ahead and go through that rabbit hole. You can take an outside look to the paranormal and just kind of take it on a part-time level. Go, oh yeah, these people are crazy. Yeah, oh, yeah, that's something that just moved the book on a shelf on its own. Oh yeah, but when you start delving into it, what happened to me as a personal experience is, I was a police officer. I arrived at a house on a call that somebody was in the house. Lights were going on in the house. People were seen being walking past windows in the house. I arrived at the house with my partner, weapons drawn. He clears to the left, I clear to the right. I walked over a threshold into a parlor. Right before me appears this full-size apparition. I draw the weapon, he disappears. From that point on, for me, just for me, for that point on became the journey. I could have chose to go, that was my imagination. I could have chose that. I didn't choose that. And then now I'm sitting here on my couch on a phone doing a podcast with this young lady over here, talking to you guys about what we've been through in life because we took that journey together. The paranormal to me is a journey and it's a choice. And if you don't take that choice seriously, it'll waste your time. It's a waste of your time. I mean, if you'd rather go, oh man, I'd rather go fishing this weekend and go something, just go fishing. But if you're going to turn around and go, yeah, I think I want to go find out what's going on in that building, let's go. The two the two things that I've noticed that people have over the years when I've done tours that I found was interesting is one or two decisions are made at the end of the tour, especially for those that say, I want to be a paranormal investigator. First thing I always tell them is come on a tour. So they come on a tour. At the end of the time, there's a question I ask them. They answer one of two ways. So what do you think? And either I'll get one or two answers. One is you're crazy, and no, I'm never going to do this. Okay. Or two, I want to do it. How do I move forward? And it's really just how simple that answer is. But do the paranormal a favor. If you're going to jump into it with both feet, plug your nose, and dive deep into the water, because doing this half-assed is not the way to do it. It's not. It's not. And it could actually get you into trouble or danger if you don't do it correctly and you do it half-assed. So step into the water. It's fine. It's fun. Can leave with more questions than you started with, but at least be serious about it. And you'll be surprised if you're serious enough in your approach, what you will get in return as a reward from the spirits in any place you're at. It'll shock you. It truly will. And now I'm no longer running for the Nobel Peace Prize. I'm just going to go ahead and let you talk, Katie.
No, I agree 100%. I think doing it respectfully and doing your own research is the best way to do it. We've got a couple quick questions left. Okay, so yes, to answer your question, Nadine, will you be inviting any other people onto your Sunday night hour in the future? It's Sunday night 90 minutes. Yes, we will be. They are coming. Everybody's been busy in terms of, we've asked a lot of people to come on. A lot of people have been busy. Richard and I, to be honest with you, have been really busy. So we're going to be getting into that when it slows down a little bit. Tara says, how do you choose who you come here with? Are you reincarnated with the same souls? That's a great question. Yes. We all make soul contracts together for learning. Yes, we do reincarnate in groups of people. You've heard of the 6 degrees of separation, that type of thing. Yes, we do. We come together. I firmly believe that the people in my life are in my life for a reason. I do not regret meeting one person in this life. I think everybody's there to teach me something, and I'm there to teach them something. That exchange of energy is supposed to occur. And I think that a lot of us, we have reincarnated many times together. What about, do you have anything to add to that, Richard?
No, I think you're right on the money with it. I don't think I would add anything to it either. The whole reincarnation stack of experiences and information is pretty overwhelming too, if you really look at it. Again, do you know people who have long memories that are very early, such as memories of being a baby? I
have an early memory. This is
do you?
Topic on reincarnation. We really should. We should do a
we should do a topic on reincarnation. We should.
Yeah.
I think we need to do that. I think that needs to be next week's show. I think so. But yes, no, I believe in reincarnation fully.
Yeah. So next week, everybody, we'll tune into it. We'll do a whole thing. I mean, you can ask any questions you want as we continue to do this, but we'll try to focus on reincarnation and delve deeper into it.
Now, Dean says he's got a question. With your own abilities, do you guys think that you have been reincarnated? Like, do you get the sense of that? Like, the whole thing is neat. I like to remember ever having a past life, I think. Yeah. I mean, it's hard for me to, here's the thing. I'm just going to kind of give you when I believe I've had a connection with another soul in reincarnation. Look at Katie and I. We have never physically ever met in our entire lives. We've been friends. She's like a sister to me for going on, 6 years now? Mm-hmm. We've never met. That is my sister. That is the way I feel about it. We are family. We treat each other like family. We're close. We're tight. We talked about things we'll never talk about in public together or anybody else. And it's just the way it is. So somewhere in my life, in my past lives, yeah. There was a connection there. What it was, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure the purpose of it. I have done multiple, and we're going to get into this next week, but just to tip of the iceberg, I have done multiple past life regressions. And that's something we can kind of get into. I know that there's some viewers here that have done some past life regressions. We will get into it. But, yes, early memories, one of my earliest memories, I think I was about 2.5. I remember laying in my crib. I remember what my crib looked like. I remember, things hanging in the window. It is my memory. That's not to say that there's different past lives. A lot of times when we have dreams, there's past lives and so on. They're lack of memory. So we'll get into that.
Yeah, because we were already getting some really good feedback on having that show already, so that'd be good.
Thank you, Tara.
Yeah, but you would be very surprised. Thank you, Tara. You would be very surprised as to why sometimes you might be as comfortable as you are with certain people. Why there is a connection there that isn't with anybody else, really. There's a lot of reasoning for that. There really is. But again, I don't want to overfeed next week's show. So, but there you have it. Now, Anthony says, I'll ask you guys if you believe in reincarnation for you all, then you know Jesus will return to be back here to judge all without doubt. I question others who say reincarnation because there is only one Jesus. There is only one Jesus, but I take some challenge in that statement because I was a minister for years. I don't know if you know that, Anthony. I was a minister for years. As far as how everything's going to go down with Christ, yeah, he is going to be coming back here, not to judge because he's not the judge. God is. If you look back in the book of Revelations. But I think that is a topic of subject that probably would be super sensitive for some. And I'm not sure I want to go there right now because I'm tired. I'm liable to be unfiltered a little too badly. So, I'm just going to go ahead and lay that out there. Yeah, now it's time when Katie does her reeling thing. Yeah, you're right. Jesus was the only one who beat death. Right, physical death. You're absolutely right. Well, no, there was Lazarus. But anyway, appreciate everyone coming out tonight as well. I know we're at we're at the 1 hour and 27-minute timeline. You too, Stephanie. We appreciate it very much. You guys coming out, and thank you guys for a great show. There's a lot of commentary tossed back and forth, and a lot of really great free flowing conversation. Hopefully, you guys got answers to the questions.
Yeah, think of some questions, guys. Write them down. Think of them for us next week. We're going to get into reincarnation and stuff like that. We love your questions. Thank you so much for your patience, as we couldn't be with you the last couple of weeks. But as you know, for those of you who turned in a little late, both Richard and I are dealing with some stuff, so we managed to still show up. But next week we'll have a new episode.
Yeah, and Nadine said it always feels like it's just an hour because the time flies. Yeah.
Right.
We appreciate everyone coming out. Crystal, good night. Valerie, thank you all. Good night. Guys, we're going to go ahead and let it go here for you. Yeah. But again, next week has already been, spoiler alert, next week is already set up to be reincarnation. So we hope you'll come out and enjoy us and enjoy that conversation. And hopefully share that show. So I'm sure more than you guys have that question. But we will talk to you guys then, and I hope we all hope you guys will take care of yourselves. Be safe.
Night.
Take it easy, guys.
Bye.